The musicality alone, like, it's hard for me to not get emotional.
That last part, oh, that's a lot to unpack.
So, Money Game 3, he won some awards for this video.
Okay.
So we'll just watch it. Multi-talented REN.
Right. What can't he do?
Yeah.
Oh, he can do it blindfolded. Okay. I am not worthy.
Yeah, the camera work on this.
It's like watching a movie.
It really is. It is.
What's he gonna do? You never know. It's different every time.
Phenomenal. Like the camera angle is meticulously planned out.
Right. He's a good-looking guy. I'm just gonna throw him out there.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son, money is the means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won.
Who's he talking about? Who's he talking about?
General consensus is this isn't a real person.
Oh, okay.
But this is sometimes what happens.
Right.
In the first one, it's largely government centric. The second one delves into more capitalism type stuff. And then with this one, by putting a name, like he's making it personal.
Right.
Like,
it's different categories of money.
Yeah. He's drilling into, okay, one person's life and choices that have been made throughout that life to be able to allow us, the audience, to internalize it in a way that really brings it into a personal realm.
Right. For me, it was, so the parent is telling the child, that you have to learn to be a man.
Yeah.
That's slightly triggering for me in lots of ways. I mean, the importance of being a parent and teaching your children at a young age to realize what matters most. Like you are literally growing a human being that could very well potentially start a software company, develop complex code, and what you instill in them at a young age sort of flourishes and grows as they get older.
Yeah.
And what could have been beautiful turns into being greedy.
Man, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like
no pressure.
yeah. Right. Yeah. It's left me kind of breathless at times thinking how, like with our kids,
right.
Man, like the world is theirs, like the possibilities and for us too.
Right.
Just, it makes me happy, thinking about like, and just the things that they can do. And it's super scary, right.
About. Yeah. Being a parent is very hard. It is very much a trial and error. I don't know if that's like what he was trying to pinpoint in this video so far, but I mean, I definitely think it leaves a discussion open to how we're raising our children.
Absolutely.
Which is, it's really, really hard to do. Our children end up becoming miniature versions of us, whether we like it or not. Sure, teach them to be independent and learn how to make money, because obviously it's hard to live life without money, but also like, let's do this in kindness.
Yeah.
And not take for granted what we have.
Oh man, it is a lot of pressure. And also at the same time, there's so much influence on them outside of us, which can be good and bad.
Right.
Verifying.
But at least it's out of your hands at that point.
Yeah.
You can't beat yourself up for something that your child learned after the fact.
Yeah. And just hopefully providing that baseline or framework that they can have the critical thinking and things to make those calls.
Right.
But the importance of that relationship between parent and child and the impact it can have for better or worse.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, well, imagine this hypothetical child being told by his father, instead of, oh, money is the means to all ends. It could be, money can be very beneficial for you and everybody, and we should be gracious and show gratitude and help when we can, like flip it around a little bit. Imagine this hypothetical child would have turned out a lot differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's going downhill from here. I guess we'll see.
What gives you that idea?
I don't know. It's quite the buildup.
Yeah.
But he either gets out of control, or this hypothetical person gets humbled and changes their ways. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I'll go back just a couple.
They're applauding his name, 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race. You're just a servant to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval, moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32, moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket. He gets the call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack. I'm sorry, he's gone. 36, getting pissed up, abusing his product. 37, eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38, with a prostitute, a moment of passion, heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39, getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, I don't think you'll be walking again. Fuck.
And with the exception of this one spot right here, that it's all one take. Like there was, he said there was one cut right there, but it's super seamless. And
see, he's being raw and real, and people are appreciating him for it. We can learn something from this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41 he wasn't walking, 42 not walking quickly, 43 never running round the pavements of his city, 44 inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble and perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck for money and fame. Call the music. This isn't entertainment. This is real life. The way we live is lunacy. Community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention. Politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention. Law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution?
And again, with his use of empty,
right? Like, what's next?
Silence.
What's he gonna suggest?
Yep.
What's your answer, Ren?
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface and consume till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise. "45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate. With a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father, it's such a damn shame. Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
Woo! That last part. Oh, that's a lot to unpack. Holy cow.
Yeah, we're gonna rewind a little couple parts. But
Okay.
holy crap!
I took notes.
Man,
wow.
it's hard for me to not get emotional during, even though I've seen it like 100 times. Like
Right.
just the musicality alone, like when the string, you pull strings into it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gone.
Right. If I can ask, what is it? Do you think, if you could pinpoint, it causes you to get so emotional?
Part of it is, I guess, the way I'm wired. There's mirror neurons in our brains. What's an example? Like we see somebody get cut, we kind of wince.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the way that I internalize things, and I oftentimes attribute emotions to things that maybe aren't there. I guess it could be called projecting.
I think what you're explaining is like you're empathizing with this hypothetical character. And since you're an empath, it's causing you to get emotion. I too felt emotion because there's so many children in this world who grow up with this type of expectation. I happen to work at a school where there are millionaire children.
Yeah.
And I see this pressure one-on-one with these children, and it's destroying their mental health because they're trying to be someone they don't want to be. They will open up to me and tell me things that maybe they shouldn't. But and I'm not prodding and asking questions. I don't need to know, but they will tell me. And a lot of them, it's like this needing to fit this expectation of their parents. Their moms want them to be competition cheerleaders when they get older, but they don't really like to do it. Or my mom just put me in to dance when I was like 2 years old, didn't really give me a choice. And here I am 10 years old, literally stressed out of my mind, having to fit this mold that I don't even want to be in, but they don't really have a choice. And what this does is he talks about how at a certain age, he starts using drugs and alcohol. He's self-soothing. Yeah. Because he doesn't know how to deal with like the expectations that are being pushed upon him as a child from an adult. And I've been there. I've been there before where I tried to use substances to soothe myself and try to deal with life. So I completely can relate to that. Yeah. You were talking about baseline earlier. Like if we don't provide our children with a good baseline, they're not going to be successful in life. And then of course, at the end, it's like money does not equal happiness. It's as simple as that. Like this guy's filthy rich, consistently dipping his hand in this cookie jar. And in the end, he wants to take his own life. He's not happy enough to live.
Riches turn to rubble when perspective evolves. It's this thing is packed full of such poignant lines, and man, the thought of any kid feeling not enough,
it's a struggle to see. Kids don't need more pressure in their life than they already have, especially in this society.
Yeah, like I could just like instill one thing in them just to make sure that they always know that they are accepted and loved, and that our love for them is not conditioned on any kind of
It's tremendously powerful to let your kids know that there is no expectation except for you to be happy. I'm really big on letting my kids lead the way. I never expected any of my kids to play a sport unless they truly wanted to. A few of my children have grown up not what I would have considered growing up to be like traditional or what was to be expected of a particular gender. Yeah. And so my kids are all showing completely unique sides of themselves, and they're trying to grow into themselves. And they've got one parent over here telling them how it's supposed to be and what they should be doing. And then I'm over here going, you should do what you want and what makes you happy. Yeah. You lead the way. I will be your support staff following behind you. Right. I mean, as long as no one's getting hurt, you're not hurting yourself. And if it is adult stuff, they're all consenting adults. Those are my 3 requirements for my kids.
That's beautiful.
I'm assuming you grew up similarly to me. Pretty traditional Mormon household where there were these expectations, like pretty strict expectations. And that's a lot to swallow as a child. Yeah. Because your brain's still developing. And I think we all at a young age, we start off just wanting to be free spirits. Yeah. And our spirits are slowly battered down by these expectations.
Yeah. A lot of times the expectations, for me in my experience, I am very fortunate to have parents that did. Don't go getting real.
It's the wrong real. Don't hold it back.
Get used to this because I'm a crier. My parents didn't intentionally put any kind of big expectations like that. I always knew that I was loved and am loved. So that's great because not everybody gets that. For me, like the expectations came through the church, for sure.
Yeah, and those bleed into the personality of your parents. Like your parents could be completely different people if they hadn't been.
Yeah, and they were conditioned as well, and so Mormons do this thing called a patriarchal blessing that kind of outlines the prophecy
it's our oracle.
God. And so there's absolutely one part in mine that has always stuck in me. I see good and bad with it, but it's like always strive to be the kind of person who your mom and dad would hope and pray that you would be, which it's horrible from a standpoint of like guilt somebody into submission or being this perfect child or whatever. But also I think there's a genuine like desire to.
We want to make our parents happy. We want to make our parents proud, even if they suck. And that's the horrible thing about stuff like this in the video. Children are still wanting that approval from the adult who,
they need to feel like they belong.
Right.
Man, one of the parts that gets me every time is when definitely the strings, which I didn't notice the first few times going through, but the melody that they are playing in the strings, it's very slowed down, but it goes back to Money Game. Like, I'm going to play it real quick.
Inside the land of the free, put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me, and it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version.
One of the times where I broke down first with this song was just seeing like somebody's life like that, and how again to the point of Ren making this very personal to where you feel for this person and identify in whatever ways of like all of us, our lives have been shaped by these micro decisions that we've made and decisions that others have made that have impacted us. And he goes into it, how it's a version of all of us. And oh man, it's just,
and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Call the music.
And I was like, no, don't stop the music because it's beautiful, but
he's got to disrupt your train of thought.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you in an emotional place for too long. Life.
The way we live is lunacy, community.
And like when the gun thing, I'm like, oh no, I'm not. I don't do that. And a little behind the scenes thing there is they wanted it to be as real as possible with it also being safe. So it is a real gun and there were real bullets and a real clip, but they do the camera work such that they don't. Somebody else swaps. Yeah, gives him a blank one, and I mean it was all very well, safely thought out and coordinated. Right. But like a lot of the reactors I've seen when he starts doing that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that has some weight to it." I think that's a real gun.
Oh yeah, I noticed right away that he was actually putting real bullets in the clip. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of winced a little bit when he put it up to his head. Because
everything is subject to change.
I've been taught a lot about gun safety in my life. So.
Yeah, good. Yeah, a lot of people are like,
we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd. If there's
at
more
this point, somebody has handed him a different clip.
They're probably under the table.
There's no future I see where the humans survive.
And then they're crawling out as he's walking around.
Mold will grow up.
Yeah, and then the people that have had gun safety, they're like, he's definitely not doing gun safety. You shouldn't be pointing it anywhere like that.
Right? Yeah.
And then this part, like bringing back in the rain, like,
kind of like the gasoline at the end of the
one. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like,
he ties them all together. It's really cool because in the second one, there's like a small clip of him drenched in the gasoline.
Yeah. It oh my gosh, it's so artistically and exquisitely done, and just, man, the emotions that he can draw out of people,
right?
It's beautiful and
he is a genius,
inspiring. Yeah,
right.
This is one of my favorites for sure. And
definitely thought provoking.
Man, yeah, I think that's what among many things, but as individuals and a society, is we need to have some of these things demonstrated for us, or we need to have interaction with things that make us uncomfortable, and what goes to my mind is this. I'm going to mess up the story about it, but this woman who went and developed relationships with individuals who were in like hate groups or something, and just the whole dynamic of spending time with people that we wouldn't normally otherwise do humanizes people. Like, there wouldn't be so much hate if we weren't so siloed and like divided, and spend time getting to know somebody in whatever, pick your demographic that you're not familiar with, and you start to develop empathy and understanding for people and providing space for different points of view. And REN does that very well in bringing these different aspects of life to the public.
Well, and kind of making it seem universal, like it's a universal struggle. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what race you are, color, gender, political party. We're all struggling the same. We're all dealing with the same types of pressure.
Yeah.
So I've kind of made a full turnaround in my life. I've always kind of been the black sheep of my family. I've always been like the troublemaker, if you will.
Really?
I went from being like your normal Mormon child that's raised in the Mormon way.
Yeah.
But when I got to high school, I hung out with the wrong crowd, and I sort of like fell away from my beliefs within the church and decided it wasn't really for me. And then I had like a significant life event happen around the age of 19 and 20 that sort of catapulted me back into Mormonism in a very, very devout way. And then I met my ex-husband, and, I blame my patriarchal blessing for that happening, but that's for another story. So I've been through a lot of different evolutions where I know what it's like to be a non-believing member that's kind of sort of being forced to go anyway against their will. Even though I didn't want to, I still was told to go, to someone who really, really tried hard to be Mormon in every way, shape, and form. And then now, who I am now, which is genuinely my most authentic self. But while I was in the throes of being the best Mormon that I could be, I was extremely judgmental. I was extremely closed-minded. And it's funny because it was a bit of like this turmoil where I was living this life that felt sort of like a lie, but I was living it to the best of my ability. But in turn, it closed off my mind and my heart to hearing other people's situations and gaining like opinions and thoughts because my mind was so closed off. And I think that that's kind of the world we live in right now, where everyone's so closed off. If we were to just like reach across the aisle and I love the saying, don't judge a person unless you walk a mile in their shoes. We're all struggling in our own way. No one is not struggling. Anyway, I don't know. I've made a full circle, and my opinions and views have completely drastically changed, even just within the last 5 years. So, and I'm much happier now, I should say. It's a beautiful thing to accept people, especially when you've heard their backstory and you've, in a sense, walked a mile in their shoes.
And even if you haven't, you can at least understand enough to know that that would be very difficult, or could be. And absolutely, that was thrown into the spotlight for me in recent years, in so many ways, with leaving the church for sure, and getting divorced. I used to be one of those judgy people, right? Like, oh, they just didn't try hard enough, or like I
literally had this discussion with my friend yesterday. Literally said the exact same thing. They did not try hard enough.
I've repented internally of my judgmental ways, and recognize that it is absolutely not my place to judge somebody else's divorce or situation.
Right.
There are things that nobody else will ever know about that specific situation. And how great is it, on that note, that we as humans have the opportunity to change our minds about something as we get more information and we learn more. It's so close-minded in my mind to not ever budge on this one thing, like with politics or religion or anything. Like, there will be people that jump on a politician or something for, they've flip-flopped, they're wishy-washy. Well, there can be an extreme either way, but I would hope that somebody in charge of making decisions for a country or a family or society is mature enough to
change their
receive information. Yeah, to change their mind. As more information is presented and they get more information about it, that they can have the presence of mind to be like, you know what, the way I understood it previously was wrong, and I do believe now that this other way is what we want. Yeah, I get what
I totally get what you're saying.
Thanks for your time again.
Yeah, no problem.
As always, and I'll get to editing.
All right, good luck. Have fun.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see ya.